Welcome back. Welcome. It's your host, Holly. Long time no see. Welcome back to Hustling with Holly. Today's episode is kind of a special one, as I'm going to do my best to walk you through my journey that is immigrating from Kenya, East Africa to the United States of America. It was and has been and continues to be an interesting experience. First off, I know it's been a while since I've published an episode, 2 months to be exact. Just know when that happens, when I'm not publishing as frequently, it does not mean that I quit or forgot about you. I'm either planning something big or I'm going through something, I'm just going through some stuff. For example, life has been a roller coaster as of late, and not in a good way. I've been going through a lot of ups and downs, and the following weeks have been me trying to get through 1 week and on to the next as if I'm trying to get over a hill. That hill being a constant consecutive chain of negative events in a single period of time, basically. It really be like that sometimes, it does. This happens. Which brings me to my next point. I've recently come to the conclusion that it's okay not to be okay. As a young adult, I guess I just never expected to have these short-lived periods of time where I'm really going through it, like my mental health is not where it should be at. My finances could be better. I'm lacking when it comes to pursuing my future goals, and everything just seems to be hitting me all at once to the point where I start to feel like I'm failing at life as a whole, and I'm just now realizing that is completely okay. Those feelings will come again in the future. It's the most infuriating thing in the world, feeling like that, but I don't expect those experiences to vanish anytime soon, And I think that, like I said, the feelings will just come and go, and that is just a part of life. But it's interesting to gauge, It's something that I have to just manage and learn to deal with. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative experience if I don't want it to be. There's a really great quote that encapsulates this very well. It goes like this: after the rain, there is a rainbow. After the storm, there's a calm. After the night, there's morning. And after an end, there's a new beginning. I really try to hold on to stuff like that when things get tough. I especially like the part where it says, after an end, there's a new beginning, which seems to be an ongoing theme in my life, really. But yeah, I bring that up because I thought it was important to catch up and connect and let y'all know how I'm really doing, because I really like talking to you, so I hope you like listening. Also, to circle back on the not publishing episodes as frequently, I do that a lot on all my platforms. So what will happen is I will take breaks where I don't post for like 3 weeks to a month, because I've been experimenting with the idea of taking breaks for the sake of my mental health. Like, if I'm just not feeling it, I won't produce content. I know experts would tell me to push through that, but I've noticed that when I ignore these much needed breaks and decide to put something out, it's either not my best work, or it's something I'm not at all proud of, or that I'll want to delete later, as opposed to taking frequent breaks and coming back bigger, better, and stronger. Some of my best stuff is literally a result of those breaks, where I just do nothing, I rest, journal. In other words, I just get in touch with myself and I take my own personal mental health into account, which is not something that I did at all when I was younger. And so I'm doing that more frequently as an adult, because, to be honest, mental health wasn't taken as seriously growing up by anyone around me. And we've only just begun to talk about it as a society, really, because for what I don't even know the reason, but like, it's come up more than it ever has before. We're talking about those things, which is good. So I want to be well read. I want to be in tune with my body. I want to be listening to myself. And I've just been exploring a lot of mental health stuff lately. And I think it's a good idea for everyone to do that if they so choose, doing whatever they're comfortable with. But like, listen to your body, because it'll tell you things. It will. But anyway, back to the taking breaks and stuff like that. Just so you know, I will always come back. Always. I will never ghost you. So if you haven't heard from me in a while and you're like, oh, that podcast is done. No, it is not, because I love you guys. And I love doing these, and I love coming back. Sometimes I just need a minute. All right, let's dive into the actual episode, Coming to America. A question that I get asked a lot is, when did I move to America? And the answer is, I moved over here permanently when I was 13. People always ask if I remember life in Africa. I do. I remember it quite vividly. My parents are missionaries, so we would move back and forth like every other year or so, it seemed. So before age 13, we'd spend a year in Africa and then a year in the US, but sometimes we'd spend a few years in Africa and then a few in the States, and then finally made the decision to stay permanently, or at least I did, because I only had 5 years of school left, and when I turned 18, I could do my own thing, The first time we visited the US that I can remember was in mid-2008. I remember because Obama was running for president later that year, and that was a very big deal in the US. My My first 2 weeks were insane. I remember my parents left me and my brother alone with my brother-in-law, Josh, so they could go run errands. And he asked if we wanted corn dogs for lunch. We had never seen or heard of a corn dog, so we had absolutely no idea what he was talking about. Mans was like, y'all want a corn dog? We were all like, what? Like, it was just so interesting because he was like trying to be like, do you guys want this thing? And we were like, what is he talking about? We like just stood there staring at each other, like trying to figure out, what is this corn dog that you speak of? You know, it was a real Princess Diary moment. You know, when Mia takes her grandmother, the queen, to a San Francisco arcade where she is introduced to her first corn dog and she's like befuddled by the whole thing. She's like, how do you eat it? Like, how does it work? You know, she'd never seen a corn dog. And I don't know, like, we all have our first experience trying a corn dog. For many kids, that's at a very, very young age, so they probably can't remember. But if you remember your first experience eating a corn dog, I'd love to hear it because, like, I remember mine and it was just interesting. And I was like, you know, like 8 at the time. But we were introduced to corn dogs and it was like, yeah, I like to think of this moment as basically the same thing as that Princess Diary scene. I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic, maybe not. Maybe I remember it because it was life-changing. Corn dogs are good, bro. It's a hot dog with fried, breaded, you know, the stuff that covers it. It's so fattening, but it's so good. And I can't even have it anymore because I'm a vegetarian. And now I'm a little depressed, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe they have vegetarian corn dogs. I'll have to look into that, I will. Anyways, back to the story. He also asked if we wanted to play a game of Monopoly, which we had also never heard of. So like literally within my first week of being in the States, I was eating corn dogs and I was playing Monopoly professionally. Not really, but you get it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I felt like I could not get any more American than that. I was like really beefing it up. Like, I am red-blooded American. I eat corn dogs and I play Monopoly. Bro, I was on a high, you know? I was a very weird little kid, but yeah, we were also introduced to things like PC games, Guitar Hero 3, Lego Indiana Jones, like on Xbox. I swear there was like a week where we did nothing but try to complete Lego Indiana Jones on Xbox. I remember Tom Petty and Pat Benatar, I think that's how you say her name. Those were my 2 favorite people on the planet. After having played songs like Free Falling and Hit Me With Your Best Shot on Guitar Hero. Also, if you did not have a weird Tom Petty obsession / phase growing up, did you even have a childhood? Like, we can't be friends. Like, IDK you, bro. IDK you. Don't talk to me. I'm sorry, I don't know how to put that. I don't know how to put that in words, but you didn't live if you were not obsessed with Tom Petty. Or maybe you just were normal. I don't know. Moving right along, we ended up getting settled. We moved into a really nice neighborhood where we lived across the street from my sister. We were enrolled for the first time in an American elementary school. In Africa, we call it primary, but in the States, it's called elementary. So going to school was so crazy to me because everything was so different. I remember thinking to myself, schools in the US seemed very dull and bland as opposed to Africa, but that's partially because it rained a lot and seasonal depression is a real thing. But anyways, I didn't go to school for long because we would end up homeschooling. However, the biggest thing I remember from elementary school was that the school's name was Hilltop Elementary in Linwood, Washington. I remember getting called weird a lot by the other kids. I didn't know what that meant at the time, but every time I did something that was deemed unusual, I would get called weird. I had never heard that word before until moving to the United States. So I eventually ended up putting 2 and 2 together and I figured out that weird meant different. I think it was meant as an insult, but I always took it as a compliment. Anyways, the last few days I attended my first school assembly, which was very strange. We were gathering in observance of an American national holiday of some kind. I don't remember which one. Some sort of skit was performed in honor of the holiday, and then a lady got up and spoke for 30 minutes. I remember feeling so confused as to why the entire school was gathered all at once in the cafeteria for this one specific thing. I'll admit it, it low-key scared me because we were literally all being corralled into one room and everyone was acting as if this was normal. Like the whole school was just in one room, and that was pretty decently sized school. You know, I'd never experienced anything like this in my life and it freaked me out a little. You know, I figured out later that things like this were a normal occurrence in America. However, needless to say, my first school assembly was both scary and confusing. Fast forward a couple years later, we had been homeschooling for a bit. My parents decided to enroll me back into school at Cascade View Elementary School, which I think it doubled as a partial middle school in the Lake Stevens, Snohomish area. So I was going to like the 6th grade there, which is, depending on where you go, either elementary or middle. I don't know. It was interesting. Anyway, this school was the main reason that I thought American schools were very dull, you know, because everyone seemed so serious all the time, like in a militant way. No one seemed to like to have fun, and I didn't understand very much socially. So my little brother and I tried our best to fit into this school and be just like everybody else because, you know, as a kid, that's the goal. I don't know why, but like, it's like, I just want to be like everybody else. And then you grow up and you're like, I hate everybody else. For example, we saw a kid wearing a snapback snapback hat on his way to class one time, and we thought it was the coolest thing ever. We were like mind blown. This was like innovative. It was new. It was iconic. It was how they would describe Lady Gaga anytime she does something, in a magazine. And it's like, for some reason, I'm at a loss for words, but it was just like mind-blowing. We were like, a hat, that's so cool. So we decided the next day we were going to wear matching fedoras to class, thinking we too could be cool. Bro, this was our ticket into the high life. We were going to be popular. We were Michael Jackson on X Games, and I don't even know what that means, but we were about to be so cool. So yeah, we were just sure that this was our way in. This was our ticket, bro. We were gonna take it. But instead, we literally got laughed at by the entire class as soon as we walked in. Like, we walked in the door, we stopped for a second, all eyes on us. All eyes on us. Even the teacher was like, what are they doing? Because 2 6th graders are wearing matching fedoras to their 6th grade history class. I don't even know, but they were like, they already thought we were weird, and then we did this. And it was just kind of like, well, there's no recovering from this. That kid was wearing a snapback. I don't know why we thought we could just wear any hat. Fedoras. Of all the hats that we picked, it was fedoras, you guys, that we got from like Seaside, Oregon. We were just the corniest looking people there. And it was just like, people were laughing and smirking and smiling, and we just confused that whole classroom, including the teacher, bro. And we realized that we had made a mistake, and then we just kind of sat down and we were like, I can't believe that didn't work. Because again, we're new, so we just don't understand stuff socially, and we're just trying to be in with the in crowd, and didn't go as planned. So yeah, another distinct memory I have from the school was my first ever public scolding. So picture this, it's lunchtime, and I was seated at a table full of kids, and in order to be dismissed, you and your table had to sit quietly, raise your hand, letting admin know that you are ready to be dismissed from the table for recess. I, however, did not know how things worked, nor did I understand the dynamics. So we were sitting there, I wanted to go to recess, and the lunch monitor, who was walking around inspecting and dismissing tables, seemed to be taking her sweet time. She didn't seem to notice us, so I decided to make her notice us. So like the level-headed, logical kid that I was, I started barking. This immediately got her attention. She rushed over to our table in complete rage. She didn't know it was me that had done it, so she asked who did that, very angrily, and me thinking it would be hilarious, I decided to point to the girl in front of me and say that she did it. Girl in front of me is now panicking because she's like, what is happening? Why did this girl just do this? I don't even know her. This lady is mad. And so she points back at me and she's like, no, it was Holly. She's the one who did it. Because it was me who did it, but I just decided to be a horrible person in that moment. So I then point to the girl sitting directly behind me, because the one in front of me is pointing at me. And so I turn around, I'm like, you're right, it was her. And so now it looks like we're both pointing to the girl behind her, even though the girl in front of me is pointing to me, and I'm pointing to the girl behind her, and the monitor is just now really confused. And the girl behind me and the girl in front of me are now both pointing at me, saying that it was me, and a scene has been started. And so other tables are looking at us, the rest of our table is looking at us. The monitor is confused, and she's getting angrier by the second. Veins are popping and everything. She's turning red, and she's now demanding the truth, as both girls are pointing at me and trying to convince her that it was in fact me who had done it. I thought the whole thing was super funny, seeing as how I like jokes and pranks, so I didn't think I had actually done anything wrong. So finally, I admitted that it was me, thinking that we would all have a really great laugh and become friends in the end. Needless to say, that was not the case at all. Not even close. Completely dropped the ball. I misunderstood the assignment, okay? Both girls hated my guts. The monitor yelled at me to go stand up against the wall for 90 seconds. And when I tell you this lady was exactly like the lady from the show Recess, the old lady with white hair and a yellow dress with flowers on it, who I think is the vice principal in that show. And she's got huge red glasses, but she's the bad guy in that show because she's always trying to get the kids in trouble and they always get away. Show's called Recess. But this lady and this monitor, same person. In that moment, I was like, okay. Anyways, I was so confused as to why everyone was so mad, seeing as how I was just trying to lighten the mood, have some fun. So I go to the wall for a bit, and then I'm not allowed to go to recess until after some time. So that's what happened. Also, the only other time something like this had happened, interestingly enough, was at my previous school. So we were on break, so I went to go play outside, and I ran into 3 girls, right, who were all named Vanessa. And I kid you not, they introduced themselves like the girls introduced themselves in that one beach scene from Princess Diaries, where the 3 popular girls who go on stage to sing, they literally say, I'm Hannah, I'm Lana, and I'm Fontana. And then they start singing Stupid Cupid, those girls. Yeah, and I know it sounds like I'm lying, but that is literally what happened. And they were like in a group of 3. They were like in a triangle. I think one of them was standing on a rock, and then the other 2 were like on the bottom. So they were literally in a formation. I know it sounds like I am lying. I kid you not. I am telling the truth. Like, on God, bro, this is what happened. I'm not exaggerating. This is honest truth, bro. I would never lie to you. This is what happened. So after they introduced themselves as having the same name, Vanessa, after they introduced themselves as having the same name, Vanessa, which is my sister's name, I thought it would be funny to say that my name was also Vanessa. And so I did. When I told them, they freaked out. Like they had just been given floor seats to the next Harry Styles concert. They got so excited. They wanted me to join their friend group immediately, or miniature cult, depending on how you look at it. Then I told them that I was just kidding and that my name was not Vanessa, that it was Holly. And they got so still and they gave me the meanest death glare that I'd ever seen. I was terrified. They were so mad at me. Like, I can't even begin to express how mad these girls were. And so I quickly walked away from them because I thought they were actually going to kill me. They literally did not move or say anything for like a whole 30 seconds while staring at me in complete hatred, even as I walked away. So I left and I proceeded to avoid them for the rest of the school year, as any normal kid would. So yeah, anyway, those are 2 stories where I was thinking to myself, oh, I'm normal, I'm acclimating to America, and that was not the case. So to conclude, that pretty much sums up my public school experiences. I would talk about my high school experience, but that is a whole episode in itself. And so yeah, a couple of the things that I thought were interesting was that everyone in America smiles at strangers as a way of saying hello or being polite. In Africa, we do this by keeping a straight face and nodding with our chin. So when strangers would smile at me after being in the US for a little bit, it confused me because I didn't know them and I thought they were trying to communicate that they knew me or that we were friends, they were friends of mine somehow, which was weird because I had no idea who these people were. And here they are smiling at me and I'm like, what is going on? I don't know you. And so one time I was at the mall with my family and I saw a woman walking by, and so I did the chin thing, African greeting, instead of smiling at her, and I ended up scaring the lady half to death. I didn't mean to, but the way Africans greet each other, I found out, is seen as more of a gang affiliation in America. Like it just will scare people. However, like when I do it to, like if I see a brother passing by, they always seem to understand what I'm doing and they just nod back. But that was just a really big difference that I noticed coming here. And so I did adapt. I started smiling at strangers, even though I thought it was a bit strange. But that was one of the first things outside of school that I took note of, is in America, you smile at people even if you don't know them, as a way of being polite, and it's a different way of saying hi. And that's not how the rest of the world does it, but that's how they do it here. And it was so mind-boggling and interesting to me. And I've since gotten used to it, but it was a very interesting experience finding that out. Anyways, last story I'm going to tell you about is when I experienced snow for the very first time. So before coming to the States, I used to sit in my parents' library where we had a bunch of VHS videos, if you can remember those, including a lot of Charlie Brown movies. So one December in Africa, I was watching Charlie Brown's Christmas. In the movie, it started to snow because it was Christmas/December. So I thought that naturally it would start snowing where we were in Africa. So one afternoon, I sat on our front porch and stared at the blank sky for like half an hour in 110-degree weather because I didn't want to miss seeing the snow start to fall. I was like 7 when I did this, I think. But anyways, my dad ended up coming out trying to figure out why I'd been staring at the sky so intently for so long. And I explained to him that I was waiting for it to snow because it is in fact December and it is Christmas. So that's what happened in the Charlie Brown movie. And I was like, Dad, December plus Christmas equals snow somehow. Doesn't make sense. It's a proven science. That's just how it is. You know, I saw it in the movie. Don't try to question me. This is what happens. And then he explained to me that it wasn't going to snow because we were in Africa. He explained weather and, basic science. And then I got really sad, like really sad. So he ended up taking me off-roading on a 4-wheeler to cheer me up, and it did. But fast forward to that first year in America in 2008, 2009, it was winter in the States and we were staying with my sister, and one night it snowed. And I was so excited. I got to play in the snow, see the snow, eat the snow. It was literally such a magical time. And that is the story of my first snow in America. So I hope my fresh off the boat stories of my unique experience of immigrating and assimilating in America have been of some interest. I have a lot more stories, but this is all I could remember as of right now, so I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe I'll do more episodes like this. If this episode really resonated with you or you found it interesting, please feel free to let me know. Also, I'm turning 22 this week on Saturday, November 27th. Your girl finna be 22, bro. 22. 2 and 2. Moving on from 21. 22 being before 23. I'm gonna be 22. 22. I bet you're wondering why I keep saying 22, and it's because I'm very freaked out by the fact I'm turning 22. Like 21 I was looking forward to because you can drink and stuff, but now I'm turning 22, and I don't know, it's like, I saw this meme where it was like 18, yay, 19, yay, 21, yay, and then it was like 22, my days are numbered, And that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, wow, 22, I'm practically dying. Cool. And I know when I'm 27, I will look back at 22-year-old me and want to slap her for saying that, but it's just where I am, man. I'm gonna be 22. Can't believe I've made it this far, Like 22 years of living, bro. I'm about to get like my new driver's license, so the old one just expired because it did, and they're mailing me another one. It's going to be horizontal. They asked if I wanted to move my picture to the next license. So instead of going into the DMV for a new photo, which is probably what I should have done, but COVID and I'm lazy. Or they could take the previous photo and put it on the new license. So my new license that's going to say she's 22, it's horizontal, so she's an adult, but it's going to have a picture of 17-year-old me on it. So we'll see how that goes. I really hope I don't get carded and get it taken away because 17-year-old me is on 22-year-old me's license. So yeah, that's how I feel about turning 22. Okay. Don't forget to rate this podcast 5 stars or leave a review. I know it might not seem like it, but that stuff really does help support the show. Plus, I love hearing from y'all. It literally makes my day. Like, you guys have no idea. By the by, if you screenshot a photo of you listening to this episode, I will feature it on the official Instagram page at hustlinwithholly. I've got an Instagram highlight labeled Hustlers, which is what I call you, the listeners of this show. That is where I feature everything you guys have to say. I love hearing from each and every one of you. You can also post any questions or comments directly to the Twitter, which is hustlinwithholly. Hustlin with Holly was apparently too many characters, so it's just the word hustlin, no apostrophe, a W, and then Holly. I love you. Stay up. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you next episode. Bye.